Error. Electricity in line. Override accepted. Infusion initiated.
Welcome to the INS Infusion Room, the official podcast of the Infusion Nurses Society. In this podcast, we explore all things infusion therapy through a real-life conversation, covering the latest trends, new research, evolving standards, and key industry insights. Whether you're an experienced infusion nurse or new to the field, we aim to keep you informed and empowered with the knowledge to stay at the forefront of the profession. My name's Derek, and I'm your host. Let's dive in. All right, hello and welcome to another episode of the INS Infusion Room. We are happy to have you tune in with us today, and we have special guest Kori Utter, and your bag of knowledge today will be about behind the scenes National Council on Education. Welcome, Kori. Would you mind introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about where you're joining from?
Sure. Thank you for the introduction. My background is that I am a senior nurse manager with a specialty pharmacy, a Credo specialty pharmacy.
For those of you who are not sure what we mean by NCOE, we love our acronyms, but the NCOE is the National Council on Education, and this is a special group of individuals that really focus on the magic that happens within the education world. So that annual meeting that is put on and is really wonderful with great sessions and speakers and collaborations. The behind the scenes people that are responsible for that and making that come to life is the National Council on Education. And Kori here is the chair for this particular committee. So again, thank you so much, Kori, for joining us today. I think it's very insightful to be able to talk a little bit about the behind the scenes of the National Council on Education for anyone who may be interested or just learn a little bit more about what goes on for developing education opportunities for the infusion specialty.
Yes, that was one of my interests. Of course, I had been to a couple of meetings prior to deciding to come on to the NCOE. And I always wondered, how does all the magic happen? What happened? How do we somehow, over the course of a year, figure out what sessions are going to be presented and how does everything come to life? So it's been very cool to be a part of this process.
So before you were part of NCOE, what was your primary responsibility?
At that time, I was working for another specialty pharmacy, and I was encouraged by my leaders to get CRNI certified, of course. And I did that. And of course, I was going to the meetings. I wanted to be part of INS because, of course, I've had the standards in my work bag for many years and helped develop policies and procedures for organizations. And I just wanted to be a little bit more involved. And I started attending the meetings, became CRNI certified, and my interest only grew from there.
That's great. I have a very similar story. For those of you who didn't know, I was part of National Council on Education prior to my role that I'm in now with INS, and Kori was one of my mentors during that time while I was on NCOE. So it's full circle today. But I too was working, and I saw that opportunity come through the email, and I thought, wow, what a wonderful opportunity to be part of something to give back to the specialty. And all the connections and collaborations that I was going to be part of was just very surreal to me as I applied and interviewed and went through the process to become a member of the NCOE. So tell me about your experience. So you interviewed and came on board, and tell us about your first year. How did you learn your role, and what did you experience during that first year?
That was I felt like timing was perfect for me. I had just finished a double master's program. I was reviewing journal articles all the time. I was probably reading 30 papers a week, some weeks. It was very busy. And I went from that to graduating and needing to fill my time somehow. So I felt like, of course, joining this organization on a bigger level, that my time would be filled. But I had no idea what exactly I would be getting into. That first year of course, as you're just going through the process, you're, attending the meetings that we're having together to figure out, what sessions we're going to push forward and working with the speakers, dividing up the work. I didn't really have a clue as to what I would be doing and how impactful the work that we do would be. So that first year, it was just soaking it up, leaning on my mentor, who was in her third year of I think at least her third year of being on the NCOE. So she had a lot of knowledge, and she was more laid back than I was. I'm a stickler for deadlines, and I'm sure the speakers I was working with that year were probably like, okay, this woman is all over me about these deadlines. It was a very for me, fast-paced year because I was trying to make sure that I was doing right by the INS. But working with so many incredible people, the other NCOE members were so supportive. Marlene Steinheiser was very supportive. I mean, it was just such an incredible year. And then to make it to the meeting, everything that we had worked so hard for, of course, I'm wondering how it's all going to come together. But then being present at the meeting and seeing it all come together was a very cool, surreal experience.
And to give more insight to this, for those that are listening or viewing today, when you're part of this committee, I don't know how many was on your first year, but my first year, there was 10 of us. And we had a set number of sessions that we were going to be responsible for to help either collaborate with the speaker that was had already submitted a session, work with them on all the requirements leading up to the conference, or we were going to help recruit speakers and develop a session from nothing and move into that. So, it's a cumulative of 10 people that come together and have really great ideas of where we want to move forward with education. What were the deficits in knowledge, or what were the gaps in knowledge that we identified for that year, and really where do we want to go with the annual conference? And from that, that's where the sessions come from, and the speakers, and vetting the speakers to make sure that we truly have experts that can speak to the particular topics that were chosen or the gaps of knowledge. So let's talk a little bit about that. So you got your first assignment. Do you remember how many sessions it was?
I believe I had 6 sessions, 6 speakers. And
So those speakers, did you recognize any of the names whenever they were
assigned? I recognize some of the names. We did have a little bit of reorging sessions after a couple of months, and I did recognize some of the names. So of course I'm going on.
You had saw them speak before, and you're thinking,
yeah.
Wow.
Here I am going to be working directly with them, collaborating. And yeah, it was, that was, I would say, a little daunting in a sense, because here I am, the new NCOE member, going to be working with these veteran, seasoned, very knowledgeable speakers and other NCOE members as well. So that was a really cool experience. And I also wanted to point out to what you said earlier. In content development, we also get a list every year, feedback from the previous year of sessions or topics of interest that prior attendees want to see, other sessions that they want to hear about. So we do take the audience feedback into account when we're developing these sessions and deciding which sessions we want to include in the next year's meeting. So we definitely depend on that feedback.
100%. So if somebody was interested in working with the NCOE, which by the way, we are going to start accepting applications soon for that. So be watching the emails for that. When these come through, you'll have that opportunity, just like we're talking about, to be part of that group. If somebody was interested, or what should they expect for their training, or how are they going to be prepared to serve in that role?
I think we need to take a step back and look at the experience that they currently have, right? It's helpful if someone has some kind of mentorship experience, leadership experience would help. any kind of preceptorship, or if someone has education experience in teaching, those qualities are very helpful in moving into a role like this, because you're expected to give feedback, high level feedback, professional feedback to experts that in their field. And it just takes someone that has those experiences under their belt, I think, to be able to do that smoothly, professionally, and comfortably.
Do you have any funny stories about your time, or something that you'd like to share, a challenge, or something that you just really learned from?
Last year, my challenge was getting from room to room in my heels on time without being visibly sweaty and panting from the challenge of just running upstairs, downstairs, across the hall to get to the session on time. Of course, all the NCOE members are passing each other, just head down,
What do you do? Tell them a little bit about what we do at the conference. So what's your responsibility? You help your speakers get prepared to present. And then at conference, talk a little bit about what you do and why you're running in heels.
Yeah, I know. I apologize to those speakers. I was panting in front of last year. At the conference, we all get our assignment, right? So a handful of NCOE members are asked to come to the conference and essentially work the conference. And we get our speaker assignment, and a lot goes into speaker assignment selection to introduce these speakers. So what we're responsible for is introducing the speaker on the big stage, reading their bio, and giving their introduction, preferably when you're not out of breath. That only happened to a couple of sessions last year. And then at the conclusion, you're managing the crowd. So when the speaker comes up on stage, they give their presentation. At the end of the session, you are also going to manage the crowd, ask for, Q&A, encourage people to come to the microphone. And you're helping to field the questions. And then at the end of the session, we won't have any announcements that we need to make. And then we adjourn and we ask people to kindly go into the next session as we wrap things up, and sometimes sprint to the next room that we're in if we have to change rooms. Because as NCOE,
how long do you have in between?
Ideally, it should be 15 minutes in between, ideally, but some sessions that run a little bit over, and questions, people come up to you with questions. You want to say goodbye to your speaker and tell them that they did a great job, right? And if needed, take a bio break in between if you're lucky.
Well, it's so exciting when you're able to work with someone on developing something so amazing. And these are experts in the field. I mean, cutting edge experts that we work with, to see their work come to the stage and provide the members of INS with such high quality education. It's so cool to see it all come together. And it's hard to just pick up and move to the next session sometimes, even though you're excited for the next one, but it's hard. You want to be there to talk, and by the way, Kansas City was fantastic. I'm happy I was part of that. But we had 6 concurrent sessions sometimes. We had a lot of opportunities at Kansas City. So it was a lot of work, but it was fun, right? We got our workout in.
The live sessions were also add another layer of complexity to that. So the recorded sessions, if you happen to be in a recorded session, from an NCOE perspective, that does add another layer of complexity depending on what role you have, either introducing the speaker or managing the online audience, trying to make sure that if you're, that your computer is set up for the online audience, you're asking for participation, making sure that your speaker has what they need to have on stage, and comfortable before the session starts. So it just adds another layer of complexity for the NCOE members.
So what we're saying is there's a lot that goes behind the scenes to make the magic happen. And it doesn't just happen like that, right?
It seems like it does sometimes, but yes, it
doesn't
always.
And I'm so excited for this upcoming conference in April 26th to the 29th at the Paris Hotel in Vegas. What are you most excited about? I have my things that I'm excited for, but I want to hear from you. Like, what you as the chair of NCOE, what do you think is going to be big highlight for our attendees to expect?
I think that last year we did our first QI sessions, our quality improvement sessions. And I'm so happy that this year we are able to have more of those QI sessions. Our applications for those we had so many this year.
I mean,
I think those were a big hit. I look forward to those quality improvement sessions because these are, people who are instituting quality improvement and best practices in their organizations, and they get to bring those forward to the INS and talk about it, answer questions. Other people get to learn from them on how they instituted these practices and what worked well, what didn't work well. What can I take away? I took away quite a bit last year just from the sessions that I was able to attend from the QI session. So those to me are a lot of fun. I know it's only for 1 hour on one day of the conference, but I think that's
how many are we putting in that hour?
Huh?
Tell everybody, how many QI sessions were we able to fit into 1 hour?
12 QI sessions. So, but as an attendee, you only get to see 3. You have to stay in one room for the full hour. You can't swap rooms, and you will have 3 QI speakers up presenting their QI sessions to you. So that is also another challenge for the attendees, trying to choose a room that they want to go in, that they have to stay in.
I know the answer to this, but are they grouped to similar topics?
It should be. Yeah, we try really hard to group them to similar topics to make that a little bit easier. But sometimes, I can only imagine that as an attendee, like, oh, do I want to go to, a VAD track, or do I want to go to alternate care setting? Depending on, what your specialty is, you might have more than one interest or more than one need. And I know that some people, some groups, might have a friend or a buddy that they go there with, and they will divide and conquer and share notes at the end. So, but yeah, that for me is a challenge. Like, oh, I really want to go to that session, but you have to choose.
That's great. And I think that's going to be, we also have some new tracks this year that I'm personally excited about to really push out and give a different perspective for infusion therapy and infusion care. And what that means. So, I mean, I think it's okay to talk about the additional tracks. So, like the disease state. I know, Kori, this was one of your original ideas last year. And you became chair, and you really wanted to push that disease state track through. Talk a little bit about what your vision was and what you expect out of that this year.
Yeah, well, my vision came from the attendee feedback. How often did we see, and again, I haven't been on the NCOE for, that long, because it's only a 3-year term and you can only serve up to 2 terms. But the feedback that I was seeing, there's always a request for different disease states. And being in specialty pharmacy, it's more than just infusions. We're infusing medications. And I feel like it's so important to have sessions that are geared towards a disease state, because we have nurse attendees from all different backgrounds, all different types of settings, infusing so many different types of medications. So I think it's essential to have some type of disease track for our attendees. So that's very exciting for me this year as well. I look forward to.
I think it's such a unique learning opportunity for attendees for the fact of there's some rare disorders that we're going to be talking and discussing about, but it's also those situations or those patient types whenever we have them as a patient, whether you're providing vascular access or infusion, or maybe they're inpatient and you're at the bedside, taking care of them as the primary nurse. There's those specific disease types that they become very complex and have a lot of comorbidities and have a lot of symptoms that you're treating, and there's so much that goes into it. So to take that disease state and apply that to our specialty and really understand what they mean and how they correlate, I think it's a really unique learning opportunity.
Absolutely. Like I said, we have attendees from all different backgrounds, right? And I know that I was a vascular access nurse. I worked at Duke Hospital on their VAT team, and that was incredible. I didn't really do a lot of infusions per se. So my choices of conference sessions I attended looked a little bit different then than it would right now. And I think that right now, because I work for specialty pharmacy, we administer all these different medications to patients in the home care setting. So, what to expect, I think they can expect to be able to take the disease state track and apply it to different care settings as well, not just in hospital, but alternate care sites, which is also exciting because that does have a larger reach with our attendees.
And that's not the only additional track that we've added this year. We also have global initiatives. I can talk a little bit to that, but really with that one, it's considering what other countries, where they are within pushing the needle on infusion therapy, their contributions to moving that needle, and how we're collaborating to make the infusion world and care that we provide great around the world. So that's exciting as well. We're going to hear from different leaders from other countries that are taking initiatives and really, like I said, moving that needle. It's going to be a really cool track as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear that. We have speakers, and we're so thankful for all the speakers who travel, across the world for some of them to get to us and present their information at our conferences. And I think it's another, central part of the INS is to have that global presence, and I think it's helpful for attendees all across the world to be able to see these sessions come to the INS.
And then my final thought on INS 25 is our exhibit hall. And not to give away too much, but you may see the INS Infusion Room recording live. So it's going to be a unique opportunity to see what's going on behind the scenes with what we do in our studio too.
That's exciting. I am going to ask you, who are you going to be pulling into your studio at the meetings?
I have a couple ideas. Like I said, I don't want to give away too much, but I will say we have a ton of speakers this year. It's going to be very hard to pick because we have a lot of great sessions. But I do have a few in mind that have some emerging topics. But yeah, it's going to be hard to pick. It's really going to be hard to pick. I've narrowed it down.
Also, my question is it just limited to speakers, or will you have audience participation as well?
I think for this year, it's going to be limited to speakers. We're going to try this out. So there's going to be an opportunity for people to come and watch. So we're going to try it out this year, see how it goes. But there's going to be about 4 recording sessions that's going to happen during the exhibit hall hours. So be watching for our studio setup in the exhibit hall too. Come by and say hello.
It's a great sneak peek.
Yeah. So many fun and exciting things, not only to talk about INS 25 in the annual meeting, but just really with NCOE, it's a year-round opportunity. So it's hard to believe that we're, cover your ears, but discussing 2026 already. And, it's insane how quickly it happened. I feel like we were just meeting for our initial meeting at NCOE, but it's where I was going with that. This is truly a year-round opportunity to where we can take our time, do things with high quality, and set things at very high standards to produce the best education for our members. So outside of the conference, are there any other responsibilities or opportunities to collaborate within INS, Kori, if you're an NCOE member?
Other opportunities to collaborate with the INS?
Yeah, like are there any other special projects that you've been part of?
I think being asked to review other papers that other organizations are working on. We've been asked to collaborate on that. We've been asked to participate in reviewing certain sections of the standards, of course. So there are other opportunities as they present themselves, kind of sprinkled in there as they come up. There's always an opportunity to collaborate with each other. I know that I've had something come up with my organization at work, and I'm like, okay, I know the person to reach out for this, because I need, now that I have those contacts, I can reach out to different people within the INS to collaborate and help me out with solving those things that come up on the
Yeah,
job, which has been
yeah, the
really cool.
complex
Yeah.
scenarios that we really have to think through and use our critical thinking. It's a lot of information that goes into the specialty, and always changing and always evolving and improving. So having those people in your corner and having the appropriate people within your network is so beneficial, and that's a huge benefit.
Yeah, growing the network, I would say, has been one of the most rewarding experiences I've had, is like growing my network, being able to reach out to different people that I would probably have never reached out to before. And of course, working with these, very talented, incredible speakers has just been very incredible. And being a part of such a big organization and being a part of that process, it's so exciting. At the energy at the conference is really cool to be a part of.
Isn't that cool? It's very unique. It's very busy. We get very busy. And when you go to leave conference, I'll say, especially with your NCOE, you're a bit tired the next day when you get home. I don't know how you felt, or how you feel after a conference, but it's full throttle, high adrenaline, and I need a day to recoup.
Yes, we all need that day to recoup.
Yes. You talked about, is this your second or third year with NCOE?
This will be my third conference that I've attended, so ending my third year.
So you're entering your first term, going into your second term currently?
That's correct. So I'm into my second term.
Fantastic. So Kori's going to be with us for another 3 years, right?
3 more meetings.
So if you're interested, you could come work with me and Kori. Enjoy NCOE when the opportunity opens up. We'd love to talk to you more if you're interested. And any other thoughts, Kori, before we wrap it up today?
I say, if you're coming to the meeting, come in and stop by and say hi. If you see an NCOE member, running around like a crazy person, that's okay. You can, stop and say hi to us. If you're sitting in the audience, come say hi, ask us questions. If you're interested, I think that the best way to know if you're interested is to reach out to one of us about our experiences. I definitely have a lot to share, and I think that other NCOE members might have similar but varying perspectives than I might have.
That's wonderful, and I agree 100% with what you say. So we look forward to seeing everyone. If you've not signed up yet to attend, please do so. It's like we talked about today. It's going to be a super exciting, fun-filled educational journey at INS 25 in Las Vegas. If you like the Sin City, it's a great opportunity to come out and do both. So we welcome you all, and I think that's a good way to end today's discussion, Kori.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you for joining us today on the INS Infusion Room. Today's infusion of knowledge, titled Behind the Scenes with NCOE, with our expert guest, Kori Utter, Chair of NCOE, has provided us valuable insights. I'm your host, Derek Fox, and it's been a pleasure sharing this important discussion with you. Remember, knowledge empowers us to make informed decisions. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and keep gaining knowledge. Thank you for tuning in.
Infusion complete.